All right, hey, what's up guys? It's Roy here and wanted to do a real quick video, and this is going to be one of many all about the Sony a6100 that I'm actually using right now to record this video. And this is going to be my daily main camera. This is actually the only camera that I actually own other than my smartphone. So this is my #1 camera that I'm going to only be using for my YouTube content. So that's my unboxing videos, my electronics reviews, these talking head videos, things like that. And so I think it's really important to really shed the light on the Sony a6100, because when I go on YouTube, I don't find a ton of videos about the a6100, and I'm really surprised about that. I can find a ton of videos about my old camera, the Canon M50. I can find a ton of videos about all the other alpha line cameras like the Sony a6300 or the a6400 or a6600, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, there's just not a ton of a6100 cameras reviews out there, excuse me. So I thought this would be really important to start with this one and kind of progressively go up as I start to try to do a video at least once a week about the Sony a6100. So with this video, I want to talk about the different picture styles that come with the Sony a6100. So unfortunately, you're not getting any kind of S-Log or anything like that with this camera. So you're just stuck with the standard picture styles that come with the camera, like standard and vivid and so on and so forth. And so with this video, I want to show you kind of the different ones with a talking head situation like this, because I think it's really important, because when you're looking for a camera and you're trying to figure out the proper way to make your video look, I think the talking head video that I do here, I can see myself in the monitor here, and it looks pretty good. But if you want to color grade your stuff and everything like that, unfortunately there's no flat profile, but at the end I'll kind of go over a flat profile that you can use, that you can actually color grade a little bit. And I've actually done 2 videos already with that picture style and color graded it with just a standard kind of LUT, 709 LUT that I came across, and just tweaked it a little bit, and it actually ended up looking pretty decently. So right now I'm recording in just the standard picture style. Now, just full discretion as far as like the way I got to this particular style or color is, so I have a softbox that's pointing here, so they're all set to warm because the lights that I have back there are also like that warm tone, so I didn't want to mix match different color tones. So I have the warm softbox light hitting me here. I have another light that's bouncing off the wall that's trying to fill a little bit of the side of my face here, that's also warm, that's bouncing off the wall there. And then of course I got those 2 lights here, and then I have a if you want to see it there, I have that there on my bed facing the bed there to kind of give me a little bit of a background here. Now, as far as the settings go, I am shooting in 4K 24 frames per second right now. I will be downscaling it to 1080 24 frames per second when I post it. So that way, for one, it doesn't take forever. But I like to do the 4K and downscale it because I think the image quality is just a little bit better because it's shrinking from 4K to 1080. So it's just giving you a little bit better quality image with the video. But I have the shutter speed at 1/50th. I have the f-stop set to 3.5, which is the widest it can get open on the kit lens that I'm using, which I am using the Sony 3.5 to 5.6 kit lens. So it's the 16 to 50 mil kit lens. And then I have the ISO set to 100. So I also use a gray card here. So with the Sony, you can set the custom white balance. So once you have all of it set up, use the gray card and use that custom white balance to get that right color. Last thing you want to do is have a wonky white balance. That's why I don't really like using auto white balance unless I'm outside. But even then, if I'm outside, I might just set it to like daylight, because you start to get like color shifts and stuff like that. It just sometimes just doesn't look good. So all that's set to that right here. So this whole time, like I said, it is standard. So this is what you'd get with a standard picture style. Now I'm going to go to the next one here, and let's see what that next one looks like. Okay, so this is going to be vivid. So that's the next one down from standard. So with vivid, I haven't tweaked any of the settings, so everything's the same like I just explained. But with vivid, I didn't touch anything with the settings. This is just exactly how it looks in the vivid mode on the Sony a6100. Now looking at the pop-up screen, or the 180 degree tilting screen on the a6100, excuse me, it looks like that it's a lot darker. So, you know, it might almost look more cinematic looking with the vivid. Obviously with vivid, I'm thinking of the colors being punchier, and it does look like the colors have gotten a little bit darker. It looks like the green lighting in the background's gotten a little bit more prominent with that green burst. But it also looks like it kind of, you know, because it's hard to tell, but the wall back here is actually painted blue. But when I'm in this type of setting here, it does look very dark. But this is vivid. And oh, one other thing to point out is I also have the dynamic range. So you have like a setting in the camera where you can adjust that. So I have it just set to auto on all these. Now, sometimes you can set it to a different level, which at the end of the video, I'll show you what I do with that dynamic range. But for the moment, I just have it all set to auto. So this is vivid. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so this one is portrait. So portrait, it looks a lot brighter. Looks almost like a mixture of standard and vivid. So it's almost like that sweet spot. And with the portrait one, obviously you think of portrait, you're thinking of portrait pictures. But with this profile here, or this style here, excuse me, it does look like it brightens up the screen a little bit. Now granted, I am just looking at the monitor on the flip-up camera monitor on the a6100, so it might look a little bit different once I actually look at my computer, but it does look a lot brighter. I can kind of see the blues a little bit. The green, I can still see it, but it's not as punchy as it was with that vivid. My shirt doesn't look super dark. It looks a lot more like the army green that it is. My skin tones look a little more natural with this one here. So this is portrait. And once again, I haven't set any of the, haven't changed any of the settings for the saturation or the sharpness or contrast, any of that. So now let's skip to the next one and see what that looks like. Okay, so now this one is landscape. So landscape, I can tell it looks a lot more orange. I have to imagine it's probably meant for something more outside, obviously, hence the name landscape, or landscape, not landscape. But yeah, I definitely look a lot more like a Oompa Loompa with this. Now granted, I could change the settings and everything to make it look better, but at the end of the day, I didn't want to affect any of the settings. I wanted just to keep everything the same so that we can kind of see a constant with what these look like versus the other. So I definitely would not probably ever use landscape inside an indoor setting like this, but I at least wanted to do it for testing purposes so you can see what landscape looks like. So once again, this is what landscape looks like with all the exact same settings as the other ones. So let's skip to the next one. Okay, so this is sunset. So sunset looks very similar to landscape in my opinion. I did a little bit of like hitting it back and forth to see if I could see any changes. There's like a very minimal change where it looks like this got a little bit brighter than the landscape one. Now I could be mistaken, but it looks like I can kind of see the blue a little bit in the on the wall here. My shirt still looks very dark, even though it is more of a army green. So some of the other picture styles make it look more natural, but with this one, once again, I kind of look more like an Oompa Loompa with this one. But once again, this is sunset, so obviously hence the name. It's probably going to be more set for something that's outside, not an inside kind of talking head video type of thing. But once again, just wanted to show you what it looks like. So let's go ahead and jump to the next one. Okay, so obviously you can tell which one this one is. So this is black and white. Had to do it by default, but it's kind of cool because obviously depending on like the look you're going for a video, black and white does definitely serve its purpose. I do like black and white when you're actually taking photos because those do look really good depending on like what kind of frame you're putting them in and kind of the setting or the look you're looking for. But this is black and white. Will I ever video in it? Probably not. but it is just something to say that I did it with all the picture styles. So black and white, here it is. So let's dive into the next one. All right, guys, so this is going to be the Sepia picture style. As you can tell, it looks much more rustic, more antique looking. Once again, it's probably something I'll never shoot in. I might take some pictures with it just because I know with the sepia and the black and white, it does serve a purpose depending on like what exactly you're trying to get as far as the look. But for something like this, where you're talking to the camera inside your home, you're probably never gonna actually record in this particular picture style, but I wanted to go through them all. So this is the sepia one. So let's jump into the next one. All right, so this one is going to be a picture style that I actually customized myself to mimic as flat of a profile that I can do. Now there are two versions of this one, and I'm gonna go through them both right now. So with the Sony a6100, which is actually what replaced the Sony a6000, the a6000 actually had one more picture style, which was neutral, which obviously when you think of neutral, you think of flat, neutral colors and things like that. And that one was a little bit easier to tweak to get a little bit more flatter look. But unfortunately with the a6100, which is the better camera, it didn't add the neutral profile to it. So it is kind of a bummer that they didn't have that. But either way, what you can do is you want to pick the portrait picture style. And there you're going to be able to shift over and you're going to be able to tweak the contrast, sharpness, and saturation of the actual picture style. So what I did with this one is I bumped them all down to -3. So I did the contrast, saturation, and sharpness all down to -3. Then what you want to do next is then go back into that menu, go up to where you see it where it says DRO/auto HDR, open up that tab, and then you're going to have two options. The first option is going to be DR off. The second one's going to be where you can adjust the levels. So with this one, I have it just turned off. So I have DR, which stands for dynamic range. I have it turned off because when you're looking at it from the screen that's on the a6100, it looks a lot flatter when it's turned off. Now, granted, if you bump up the level and bump it to level 5, which is what most people have said to do, then it gives you a little bit different look. But I wanted to do this one with this turned off so you can kind of see what it looks like turned off. So now I want to go ahead and I'm going to turn it up to level 5. So I'm going to put dynamic range on, and instead of having it at auto, I'm going to have it set to level 5. And this is what it looks like with level 5. So what you do is just basically just go down to where it says DR and it's auto or whatever the case is, and you're just going to change it to level 5. You can bump it from 1 to 5, but turning it to level 5 is going to lighten up the image a lot more and give you more dynamic range, supposedly. So when you color grade it, then you're getting all of the colors when you're color grading it. Now, granted, you know, that's up to you if you want to color grade. I think the standard one on the Sony a6100 looks pretty dang good. But once again, if there is a LUT out there that you like, and I recommend just going online and Googling free LUTs and then just testing them out. I've heard that the 709 LUTs are pretty decent. Just everyone does their own little tweak. Like I have like a LUT for Cinestyle, which is like the Rec 709 for Canons. Some of them look okay. Some of them look like absolute garbage when I have tried to color grade it. But there are plenty of other LUTs out there. It's just a matter of tweaking them because you can almost make any of them work. You just got to put a little time and effort into it. But if you're like me and you just want to be like super quick with your posts and not take forever color grading stuff, then try to find that one decent LUT that you think works well for certain lighting situations, and then boom, slap it on. So the last thing that I want to do is, with this being at level 5, so I've showed you the extreme of DR being off and the extreme of level 5. So now I want to go ahead and set it to auto. So that way you can get the third taste of what this profile looks like, or this picture style looks like, if it's just set on auto. Okay, so now this is just set at auto. So auto does a really good job, in my opinion, as well, of picking out which level it should pick with the lighting situation and the way that it looks with your environment. And it did make it look like it went a little bit darker, so it might have not went all the way to level 5. So once again, when I say darker, it's just from the look of the monitor that I'm looking at. It looks like it went from a little bit brighter to a little bit darker. But once again, you know, once I color grade stuff, which while I'm talking, what I'll do is kind of have it shift into a color grade, which each of these that I've been talking on, so you can kind of see what they look like with it being color graded a little bit. So that way you can kind of see the flat versus what it could potentially look like. And I'm a newbie at this stuff, so I promise you, if you're more of a professional, I bet you can make it look a hell of a lot better than I can. But like I said, I've been doing this stuff for about 4 months now, and I've learned a lot, but there's still a lot to learn. But with that being said, with the Sony a6100 and the different picture styles, I think you can really get some really good looking footage, even if you just had it set to standard. I do recommend not really ever recording in automatic unless you just absolutely have to. If anything, if you're outside, I would highly recommend, you know, maybe just setting it to like shutter priority or something like that, so the motions are looking a little more natural. But that's for a different video, so you can kind of talk about like the vlogging, like run and gun kind of stuff outside. But if you're able to control the environment like I can inside my bedroom, then these are the different picture styles that you can play with and what they look like. And then, like I said, comment down below and let me know what y'all think. I mean, if you have the Sony a6100, which is the picture styles that you use? Are you changing the dynamic range up? Are you setting a custom, you know, kind of setting with the portrait style or another one of these? So I'm really curious because, like I said, I haven't really seen a lot of videos about people tweaking the settings on the Sony a6100, which is kind of a bummer because it's a really damn good camera, and with it only being out for about a year, you are being able to find them a little bit cheaper now. So I think this is probably one of the best options for someone who's looking to be a YouTuber or a vlogger and they're beginning and trying not to break the bank. So appreciate it. Tongue-tied. I appreciate y'all's time. I hope y'all hit that like button. I hope you do consider to subscribe, and I hope you have a blessed day out there, and be safe out there.